Okay, Debbie, Leona, we're coming in clean. You ready? I am Vinnie Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. Yeah, Melissa Etheridge. But you can't say that name 3 times really fast. I guarantee you. It's Melissa Etheridge. Melissa Etheridge. Yeah, I guess maybe you can.
If you say that's not fast though, that's slow. That's cheating.
No, I can't talk fast. You know that. No one's ever accused me of being a cunning linguist. That sounds weird when you say it, right?
A cunning linguist.
A cunning linguist.
Sounds like an old school Celebrity Jeopardy clue.
Remember those? There were really bad jokes, Chris. I haven't done bad jokes on this show in a long time. What's the difference between a short kid? I can't do it. I can't do it because I'll get in trouble. There's too much going on in the world today. Remind me to tell you these off the air, because I thought through it right there in real time. And I went, you say something about short kids, you'll be in trouble. And
did we just prove that you do have a filter?
You know what? What's the date today? 9/12. Yeah, 9/12. I filtered myself. Wow.
Which, by the way, also sounds wrong out of context. What are you doing over there? Filtering yourself?
Yeah. I just became a cool cigarette. I just got a filter. Yeah. Yeah. You know, when I was a kid, that was the thing. It was like people would go, "Hey, don't smoke. That's not good for you." It's like, no, I don't do filterless. I do filters. That was still a thing when I was a kid. Apparently,
filters are a very different thing now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a beauty filter, not a cigarette filter.
But look, that's how far health has come. It's like, no, I smoke. I use a filter in my cigarettes. I filter. Yeah. That's the way I do it. We've come a long way, Chris.
So speaking of things that have different meaning, Vinny, does your car have a cigarette lighter in it?
Yeah, but it's not called that anymore. It's called an auxiliary jack. And there's like a little plastic, like it did not come. As a matter of fact, I remember the last time I bought a brand new car. It was in 2000. Well, no, I bought a Corvette after that, I guess. But in 2000, I bought a brand new car. It was a Dodge Ram 2500. And they asked me, do you want the smoker's package? It's like, does it come with cigarettes? I mean, what does that even mean?
An extra cabin air filter?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, maybe I need the smoker's package. I might want to start a habit. I don't know. And it's like, no. Instead of having the auxiliary jack, they actually stick a cigarette lighter in there. And I went, oh, what did they charge for that? And they go, like $125. I said, to have the little thing that used to automatically be in there, that's $125. Of course, I chose not to get it. I didn't want to spend the money on a habit I probably wasn't going to start. But yeah.
It's just one of those things, man. I had to explain what it was actually for to someone a couple weeks ago. And they were like, people smoked in their cars? Like, people smoked everywhere. And I don't think you understand just how crazy it was not all that long ago.
I was trying to explain that when I was a kid, my parents never smoked, neither. But all of their friends did. And we would get in a car with people. And Louisiana is the hottest place on the planet, right? It's just humid and hot. They would be driving down the road, windows rolled up with the air conditioning on in the summertime, just smoking in the car. You were in a smoky environment in the car, right? And people talk about, remember when secondhand smoke came around? By the way, another one of those things that had zero science around it. Zero. Right? Where they just said, hey, more people die of secondhand smoke. On Santa Monica Boulevard in LA, where I lived, there was a billboard, like a big Lamar billboard. And there was a lit number, like, a number that could just keep ticking forward, right? And it showed how many people were dying of secondhand smoke. And the number just kept ticking and ticking and ticking. And I'm sitting there going, okay, how do you know what someone just died and Angel just got its wings and now it's on the sign? Are you guys doing some kind of algorithm and this is the average and you're just showing us in real time? And then I started asking around about secondhand smoke. And by the way, folks, I'm not trying to make a stand for why you should smoke here. Smoking is a horrible thing. But I was asking, how do you know if someone died of secondhand smoke? It's like, you don't. It's not even science. It's just completely made up. Just made up out of whole cloth.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like, there's a, to use one of your new favorite terms, Vinny, there's a there.
Yeah.
But with all of the other environmental factors, how do you know that that's what caused it and what's the level? And that cracked me up growing up because you had smoking sections in restaurants still.
Yeah.
Right. But there was not a barrier. There was not like the whole restaurant was a smoking section.
Right.
Because they could just smoke wherever they were. Maybe they had like some plastic up, but it was still coming right through the giant walkway in the middle. And then they finally got rid of it. And one of the things that makes me laugh, you and I in the past have talked about all the weird rules on airplanes.
Right.
And I get no smoking. I kind of understand no vaping just because they don't have science behind any of the secondhand effects of that. Right. But did you know there's no nicotine products at all allowed on most flights?
Yeah, I guess they just don't want people dipping and chewing because then there would be spit everywhere and people leave the cups behind and what have you. That's got to be the reason.
But you can't even have like, what are the kids, like a Zin, right? Or what's the one that came out before Zin, a snus, right? Where
if you have one of those products and you slip one between your cheek and gums, like Walt Garrison used to say. By the way, there used to be Skoal and Copenhagen commercials on NFL games, right? And it was a guy named Walt Garrison. He was an old football player back from the 60s. And he goes, I'm Walt Garrison. I like a pinch between my cheeks and my gum. You find, Chris, find the Walt Garrison ad. I will play it on this show. It was for Skoal or Copenhagen or both. And if someone is sitting there and they just had like one of those Zen pouches in there and they're not bothering anyone, no one's going to see it or say anything. Right. But you're telling me that's illegal too?
So my last flight that I was on,
mm-hmm.
the guy next to me took out his, I don't know if it was Zin or one of the other pouches.
But not a tobacco product. It was just a nicotine product.
The round, small container, right, with the white pouches in it.
Right.
Cracks the top, and the flight attendant immediately comes over and says, you can't have that. There's no tobacco products allowed on this flight. And he goes, it's not tobacco, it's just straight nicotine. And she goes, that's the rule. There's no nicotine. And she confiscated his little thing and threw it in the flight attendant trash can. And of course, he immediately went into his bag and opened another one. Right? But
hang on. And by the way, I'm not trying to defend the guy using nicotine on a health and fitness show, but people who have a nicotine issue back in the day when they finally kicked cigarettes off of flights, they would just chew nicotine gum.
Right. So
if allowed?
If they don't see you take out the Nicorette box, they don't know that it's nicotine gum. But I guess nicotine itself is banned.
Okay.
Flights.
So if they knew that you had Nicorette, then you're in trouble.
Take it from you.
Okay. All right. So if this guy had just done it when the woman wasn't walking by, he would have been okay.
Right. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I get the rule. I even get it for chew.
Yeah.
For exactly the reason that you just, but like, is it because you don't sell it?
Right. Well, let me ask you a question, Chris. Does the nicotine come like in a little pouch? How does it come? Like when you put those things in your mouth, the nicotine, is it in the pouch? Like, they
Pouch.
put it, it's in a pouch.
Yeah, it looks like a little piece of gum.
Okay. And so, because they used to put Skoal and all that in pouches too. So my question is there spitting involved, or you're swallowing? Does it have like a minty fresh taste? What is it? What goes
I'm
on?
assuming they're just from seeing it at gas stations or whatever, they have different flavors. So I'm
Okay.
assuming it's no different than, and I think the first one, was it called Snus?
Yeah, I've heard of a few of them, but people ask me during the consults. People's like, look, I used to smoke, I stopped smoking, I used to chew the gum, now I'm doing the Zen. I've heard of the Zen, right? What do you think? And my answer is always the same. Nicotine in and of itself is pretty inert, right? There's nothing, it's just a stimulant. It's addictive, so you're going to have an addiction issue, but it sounds like you already have an addiction issue. I'm glad that you're not smoking anymore. And my answer is, if this is keeping you away from cigarettes, do it. But if someone came to me and said, because I think they're telling people, hey, use this product. Nicotine will clear your mind, make you smarter, all this kind of crap. If you're not using a nicotine product, don't start with this. This is where you go to wean off of something way worse. And I mean, I'm just trying to be practical about all of it. If that makes, I think I'm making sense here, right?
Yeah. Nicotine itself is not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the other crap that comes along with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But look, with that being said, I don't want to say, hey, go do nicotine. It's a stimulant. You should have it. It's still not good for you. It's what it comes down to. What are you looking up, Chris? You're looking for Walt Garrison? I'm gonna see if I can find him over here.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get one we can play on the show.
I'm going to let the audience know who he was. He was a football player. I'm trying to remember when he played. He was a good-looking guy back in the day. He was kind of a cowboy-looking guy. He played for the Cowboys, I think. Yeah, Dallas Cowboy legend. Wow, he died in 2023. I didn't realize he was still around that long. Let's see.
From mouth cancer?
He played as a linebacker in football. He played basketball and baseball. Garrison accepted a football scholarship to Oklahoma. That's where they all go. He started school in the fall of 1962. That was the year I was born. I was born in the fall of 62. Played linebacker in the only two games. In the only two games the freshman team played that year. Okay. I mean, they really, he took a shit. They got everything in here. He was selected by the Dallas Cowboys in the 5th round, 79th overall, 1966 draft. On and on and on. But by the time I was a kid, he was a.
When I've got a little extra time on my hands, I like to do things I really enjoy, like roping. But there's one thing I enjoy all the time, and that's tobacco. And just like millions of other guys, I get my tobacco pleasure without lighting up, because I use smokeless tobacco. My favorite brand is Skoal with the wintergreen taste. And just a pinch between your cheek and gum is all it takes. And boy, it sure does feel good in there. So take it from me, Walt Garrison. Do something you're really going to enjoy. Try going smokeless.
There you have it. So, and by the way, I don't think I talk about this much on, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on the show, but back in those days when those ads were running on television, you know, he was a big football hero, cowboy, man's man, and they're talking smokeless tobacco. And then all the baseball players, my hometown was a big baseball town. And all the guys were, you know, they would put either the mail pouch or the Red Man or the beech nut, the big chaw in their mouth. And this was, hey, you just need a little bit of this and you put it in your mouth. I was 11 or 12 when I was introduced to it. And just like most football players, walked around with it in my mouth all the way through high school. There are photos of me in the yearbook with, you know, big chaw in my mouth. And realized at some point it was a problem, and I just went cold turkey. And going cold turkey from chewing tobaccos, not easy whatsoever. You go through withdrawals, big time. It was rough. Yeah.
He's from the Dobbins neck of the woods.
Really? Yeah, I know he's from Texas or somewhere, right? Or Oklahoma, one of those.
Yeah, he grew up. He went to Louisville High School, which is right down the street from where I lived when I first moved to Texas.
Yeah.
He was born in Denton, which is where UNT is, and ended up going to Oklahoma.
I'm sure the audience is not dying to know about an old football player like Walt Garrison, but yeah. And that was back in the days when you watch football. Earl Campbell was like the big thing, right? And I remember Earl Campbell, they would say each one of his thighs is bigger in circumference than his waist, right? He had like 34-inch thighs and he had a 32-inch waist. And I was pumping
the old Saquon.
Oh, he was way more than Saquon. And Saquon is my favorite player. They remind me of each other. You know, they just run over grown men like they're nothing, right? And they would say, do not try to tackle that man low, Earl Campbell. You try to tackle him low, and he put a thigh in your helmet, you ain't getting up, right? And I remember going, oh, yeah, because I was doing squats. I used to do, and this was crazy, folks. This is not how you do it. But back then, I would do 10 sets of squats. Every time I had leg day, warm-up set and 9 sets of squats right after it. Boom. And it would be warm up with, you know, just a bar, maybe 25 on each side. Then I'd put a 35 on. I'm sorry, a 45 on each side, which is 135. Do a set of 15 or 20. 2 plates on each side. Do 2 sets of, you know, 12, 15. And I'm talking ass to grass, getting down. And it was all about, I didn't care what the pain was. I didn't care what anything was. You know, go right, you know, throw a 25 on top of that. So now you got like a 275 ass to grass for a set or 2. Now you got 3 plates on, you know, 3 45s. And, you know, folks, 45, we call that a plate in the gym if you're not gym savvy. Now I got 3 plates on. Boom, do a couple of sets there. 4 plates on, do a set or 2 there. 5 plate, just wrapping out sets, trying to get my thighs as big as I could, because if Earl Campbell had 34s, that's the number I had to have, right? I was obsessed with size, strength, getting it all done, just obsessed, right? And I did achieve it. I mean, at some point I had 33-inch thighs and I had like a 31 or 32-inch waist. Because people go, how does someone your size get to 225? Ass and legs, baby. Ass and legs.
Is that how you went from VT to BT?
Wait, hang on. Yeah.
Went from Vinnie Tortorich to big time.
BT, big time. Look, I mean, and, you know, that I would do weighted lunges, hack squats, you know, just everything. Leg press. As a matter of fact, you know, because, you know, we had Joe's gym, you know, and I helped Joe put it together and the whole thing. People would call in the afternoon and they would say, is Vinnie working out this afternoon? Yeah, he's here. What's he doing? And if I was doing leg day, they weren't coming in because I used all the plates. Like we didn't have, it's a small gym. And everybody was behind me making it and doing the whole thing. I had these people behind me, right? The gym rats. Well, I'm telling people, walk up to gym rats. They will give you more help in the gym than the guy calling himself a trainer, right? If Vinnie was doing leg day, might not be your best day to go in. Yeah.
You might have to wait around for some of the plates.
Yeah, some of those plates, a lot of those plates are being used right now. At least somewhere between 6 and 10 of them are being used. Right? Yeah. It was ridiculous.
So let's go to the polar opposite of that, Vinny. You and I have talked about all of these articles we've been seeing about gym culture and how toxic it is that you have to go to the gym and work out.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of Zone Zero?
No. No, what's Zone Zero?
You talk a lot about Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, right?
Yeah. Zone 4 and 5.
They're now calling things that don't get your heart rate to that extent Zone 0 exercise.
Okay. And what are we talking about here?
So things like yoga, regular walking, some of those kinds of things. And apparently there's a whole glut, there's a good word for you, a whole bunch of studies that are starting to come out now talking about light activity and the improvement that it makes on your health markers. Now, if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you know that when Vinny talks about blue zones, that's the thing that he focuses on, right? People are up, they're moving, they're doing things all day long. So it really shouldn't be a surprise to us. But the fact that they've given it a name now is a little mind-boggling to me.
Well, it's just someone trying to capitalize. Look, I've often said, and I took this from a study that I saw way back when in the 80s. They were trying to figure out back when there was something known. Now, hold on, folks. I'm just going to use the word. Okay, don't get upset. When there was actually a thing called a housewife, right? Women who work their asses off in the house, keep the family going and the whole thing. Now, what does a housewife do? Well, if you got kids, you're getting the kids ready in the morning, you're pulling them together, you're making sure that your husband's, got everything to get off to work on time. Your job is you're running that house. After everyone leaves, there's laundry, there's beds that need to be made, there's cleaning up, right? It's a boring job. Some women love it. I still know women down in Louisiana who are housewives. I know a couple of women here in Charlottesville. They're housewives. And I think it's a commendable thing. I think it's a great thing when women do it, right? We got a guy in our neighborhood is a house husband. The wife goes to work and they got young kids. And, I see him all the time. He's a great guy, right? It's an honorable thing to do for your family. Keeping your family going and doing what you have to do to make that happen. I guess in their situation, they decided, she can make more money than him or whatever. Right? I don't know. Maybe she hates her kids. I know she doesn't. I see the woman. She's a great woman. She's with her kids all the time. But they talked about the housewife and how they never get, or they had the lowest incident of heart disease. And they were trying to figure out why. And my thought was, well, they keep the wine going in that sippy cup all day long. But that's not what they do. That's a trope that's not real. These women are doing light duty work. They're on their feet. On your feet is a weight bearing exercise, just being on your feet. Now you're leaning over beds. You don't need to go to a yoga class. You're leaning over beds, trying to make the bed. You're doing this, that, and the other thing. You're standing over an iron. You're ironing things. You're doing laundry. back in my day, they used to hang the laundry up to save money on electricity, hang it up. So now you're moving around. It's light exercise all day long. And what they found out is this may be the best kind of exercise you can do, right? Every day, just waking up and getting circulation going. That's why when people say to me, which exercise is the best exercise? My answer is the one you're willing to do. Some people go, I don't really exercise. I just go out and walk around the neighborhood. Great. That's weight-bearing exercise. You're moving. You have good circulation. That's good. Now, you're not going to win a marathon that way, and good luck in a triathlon or a CrossFit competition. But you didn't ask me about competition. You asked me how to stay in shape. The answer is to move. Now, if you want to have more of a cause and effect situation, you want to have more muscle in your body and this kind of thing, you get older, you should want to put more muscle on. Now you need to do things. And if you're not working on a farm and you're not stacking bales of straw and bales of hay, and you're not working that farm, or if you don't have a job like there's one guy, he's an ultra athlete, that guy Ken that we talk to, we see him all the time. He works at UPS. He's running all day long. He's in that hot truck. He's moving all day long. And then he gets on a bike and he kicks ass and does triathlons and whatever, right? So there are jobs where you are getting in shape on the job. So there are different levels of it, I guess. But yeah, all exercise is exercise. If you want to be a certain way, then you have to specify the exercise. If I want to win a competition in skeet, pulling out my archery equipment is not how you get there. You got to actually take the shotgun and shoot it at a moving target. If I want to win an archery competition, I got to put the shotgun down and grab the bow and just put a lot of arrows through a target, right? Repetition. You want to get big muscles, you need reps. You need your body to go through it, right? Exercise, rest, exercise again. Any questions, Chris?
No, I think the thing that's interesting is the reason that they're leaning into this is because the term zone zero or zero zone apparently is more easily explainable than active recovery or just telling people to move. So I read through a few of these articles, and essentially what they're saying is, people are scared to exercise because they think that it has to be high intensity. And to your point, the light activity stuff has just as much of a benefit on overall health if you're doing it consistently. And so they're trying to rebrand active recovery or get up and move into something that fits into the overall fitness structure.
Yeah.
But isn't scary to people.
I get it. I get what they're doing. I don't think it's a bad idea. Any way you can get people to move is a way to get people to move. Look, I see I just left the gym to come here. I still have the torn up kind of flash dance shirt on that I wore to the gym, right? Matthew wasn't there today. Matthew is my age. Latasha was, right? Latasha's much younger. She's probably 40. She's one of those girls, she's maybe 42 or 43, but she looks 30 or 29. It's kind of crazy. And they both, I've talked to them, they're both friends. They both become friends. And their biggest question is, you're never in here for more than 40, 45 minutes, right? And they're in there for a couple of hours every day. They look pretty damn good, right? They look great. But they're trying to figure out how I'm looking the way I'm looking, and I'm doing half of what they're doing. And I keep explaining to them, once your muscle gets the signal, once you hit it, James Brown, you got to hit it and quit it. Hit it and quit it. They'll do multi-sets. They're constantly doing what I like to call warm-up sets. The aforementioned 10 sets of squats. I didn't know back then that I should have probably cut it down to 4, maybe 2 good warm-up sets, pile some weights on, do a medium set, pile more weights on, do a super heavy set, and then move on. I could have saved myself a lot of time. I didn't know any better. It was back in the days of more is better, right? It was back when Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these guys say, oh yeah, we do 8, 10 sets of this and that and the other thing. Of course you're doing it. You're taking steroids. You can get away with it. I wasn't doing any drugs, right? They had something helping them recuperate and build at a monstrous rate, pun intended. I didn't have that, but I didn't know. I was just too stupid and just kept doing more and more and more until you learn, oh, wait, once you get that muscle signaling going, and I learned that in college, right? When I got more into the Arthur Jones side of things and looking at some of these other guys doing way less, but more intensity, more weight, and they were getting further ahead. Mike Mentzer should have won Mr. America, Mr. Olympia, actually. Should have won it. They gave it to Arnold, so Arnold can have his 7th, one. Arnold looked like shit that year. But the guy he was up against worked out maybe a quarter of the time that Arnold was working out. And he was getting more done. Go look at pictures of Mike Mentzer. The guy had more muscle on him than you can imagine. We've seen a lot of cases of that. That's why, you've seen the workouts I put together, right? They're not they're very simple. They're simple and they're effective. And what do I explain? You've gone through the tapes over and over and over, the tapes, the video and the audio and everything with me. Get to failure. Not every time. I describe in a video, you're not going to failure every time. Sometimes, some days you're going to fail, some days you're not. Right? But you have to get close to failure. That's why when people go, what's better, machines or free weights? I'm always saying use machines, because when you get to failure on a machine, you just step away. If you get to failure on a bench press, well, now you got a heavy bar on your chest. Someone needs to be there and help you. If you work out by yourself, then, even when I work out at home where I don't have anyone to spot me, I have these slings, that fits inside of my rack. So if when I get to that failure set, I just lay it in the slings and then go lift it up after, right? The slings will save your life. But most people don't have a complex, expensive workout area like I have, right? It costs money to do these things, to work out at home. The cool thing is you're basically paying for the gym once, right? Even though I still go into town to work out, I work out at home. You know that because I talk to you sometimes. We're having meetings and I'm working out. I'm out of breath, right?
It's the only time you're out of breath. You're always doing something, whether it's zone 0 or physically in the gym, right? There's always something going on.
Yeah.
And as nice as having a cute name for it is, whether you call it zone 0, getting up and moving your butt, active recovery, whatever you want to call it, that's a nice foundation. But it turns out, Vinnie, and this is something that I think we all know intuitively, but did you know as little as a single exercise session can slow and reverse cancer cell growth?
Kind of, maybe, yes, no. I've read those kind of articles. I never know if they're double-blind studies or if it was done, how it was done, or if it was just, how did they come up with that?
So there's a new article that came out. I think it's in the Washington Post today. Yeah, it's in the Washington Post yesterday. And they looked at a few different studies. The first, admittedly, it's a small sample size, but 32 women who were breast cancer survivors, right? They were in remission after a single session of interval training or weightlifting. And they took cultured cancer cells,
right,
did a blood draw before and after. The before blood did nothing.
Right.
The after blood, depending on the group, both groups saw a large increase in the death of cancer cells and the slowing of growth. But the weightlifting group seemed to have a much higher impact.
Huh.
Now, again, that's a small study, but...
All right, let's do this. I need to take a quick break right here. I'm not going to stop the audio. I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back. I have someone that's coming down into my basement. I just have to go meet him, and then I'm going to be right back. So we're going to have to cut it right here, and then, you know, I'm not going to stop anything, so keep everything going. All right, so Chris, I want to pick up with the cancer thing right here. They should be quiet enough. I got the radon guys down here checking.
Okay, and I'm gonna have to jump after we do this one. NSM just sent me another round of label changes.
Oh Jesus! Okay.
For the magnesium,
all right.
Things that were not included when the person actually looked at it.
All right, so we're coming back in. All right, so Chris, we were right in the middle of a conversation. I had to take a quick break to let someone in. I'm the only one here now. So what do they attribute this to?
So I may have misspoke. I think I said the weightlifting group had a higher impact. Actually, it was the high intensity interval group. So they did essentially sprint training.
Okay.
Either running, rowing, or a bike.
Okay.
30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for 7 rotations.
Okay.
Now, when we say sprints, most people think that that's an all-out sprint. What they were shooting for was a 7 out of 10 in terms of effort. Now, I don't know how you quantify that.
All right, so I'll tell you what that is. If your heart rate goes to, let's just say 185, that means you're getting to 170, 172 beats per minute. That would be a 7 out of 10. A 10 would be when you get to 185, you can't utter your name. Right? You can't speak.
So not an all-out sprint, but like a zone, what would that be? High zone 4?
It's medium low zone 4. You're out of zone 3. You're medium. Yeah, medium zone 4.
So they did 7 rounds of that, or they did weightlifting for 45 minutes, again at that 7 out of 10 effort level.
Right.
They did the blood draw before and then 30 minutes after the session. And essentially what they're saying is it had a huge increase in the number of myokines and an IL-6 protein, which is what impacts, that gives you the inflammation and the immune response benefit.
Okay.
And that seems to be where they're leaning in terms of it having the effect.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's good. Another good reason to exercise, folks. Right. And the problem I'm having is they're taking cancer patients and doing this, or are they taking healthy people and they're seeing what happens, and they're assuming it would help cancer patients?
It's, in this case, the first study that they're talking about here, they were breast cancer patients in remission.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's what they mean by breast cancer survivors, right?
Okay.
Because there's always a chance it can come back. And they've started to repeat the study with, was it colon cancer? I think was the other one. And they're seeing some similar results there, which makes sense, right? If you're boosting your immune response, it's going to have a systemic benefit. But it seems like it has kind of an outsized benefit even there compared to a lot of the other things, right? You get a much more immediate benefit if you have some cancer cells, at least in a petri dish, right? But if you're taking the same person's blood and not seeing that result, and then seeing that result, it's a pretty good place to start. And it's a strong signal, if nothing else.
Yeah, I figured they couldn't, because I was thinking, could I get on that assault bike when I was, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, you're completely sick from chemo, getting on that assault bike. I was like, there's no way in hell, it's not going to happen. So I was thinking active cancer, that would be a difficult thing to do. But it does make me wonder. For the audience that does not know, most people know this. Sorry, you have to hear this again. My leukemia that I had back in 2007 was supposed to come back in about 5 years. So you figure by 2012 or 13, it was going to come back. They said between 4 and 5 years. Well, it took 17 years. I just went back on chemo last year in 2024. So I went 17 years. Now, I would like to blame it on my diet. Right? It's like I ate spot on, but there's a lot of exercising in there, a lot of zone 2, a lot of zone, I do interval training from time to time. I do lift weights, right? I do a lot of exercises. So I'm wondering if that might have had more to do with the fact that I'm not the average Joe. I'm doing a lot more than the average Joe, right? So could that have something to do with it? Who knows?
So the interesting thing here, and I think this is where I got confused earlier, the study author said even though the interval training was seemingly more effective, he thinks that weight training is actually the key to this. Because when you have more muscle mass, you have more of the myokines, generally speaking. So it gives you a longer term effect. And the other thing, and I thought this was interesting, is he said, look, exercise is not just a nice add-on to traditional cancer treatment like chemo or radiation. It needs to be recognized as a first line of treatment in its own right.
Wow. I mean, those are powerful words. It really is.
And that's not something you would normally hear, right? He's like, hey, I'm here to treat cancer. And if this works well to treat cancer, we need to consider this as a first line treatment.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm living proof that you could go way longer I mean, they told me, and we know of a guy that went 10 years with your type of cancer, but that's rare. You don't see that, right? Okay. I went 7 years longer than that. But, like my doctor said, when I went in to go on chemo again, he made a mention of, he goes, wow, I've never seen this. I went, yeah. I said, would you like to know what I did? And he said, no. And I said, no interest at all. He goes, oh, it's interesting, but I don't have time. And he said, because I was a friend of a friend, so he was able to be more frank with me. He said, listen, if we started telling people to do every wacky thing that people do, they come in here and tell us, right? When they have cancer, people go, oh, you got to drink wheatgrass. You got to go see a shaman. You need to, feng shui your house. You need, okay, I get it. People are looking for magic, right? I get it. Cancer's scary. It really is. But the bottom line is, he doesn't want to hear from me because, I'm just going to tell him some other wackadoodle thing. Yeah, I worked out like a fiend, which no one's going to do. Exactly 0 people are going to do. I'm saying 0. We have people that work out harder than me. I see them, on X and the whole thing. We got some real animals in this group that are doing the kind of thing I'm doing. They're doing the bicycling, they're working out like animals. I see photos of them. They look amazing. And sometimes I can make the argument that the Tim Mallions and the Scott Kings are working harder than anyone else, right? Because they have all this extra weight that they're battling, right? That they've taken off. So, yeah, maybe it's the workout. Maybe it's the diet. Probably it's both. But I don't have any kind of superior genetics because if I did, I wouldn't have had cancer to begin with.
I just like that exercising and eating right is the wackadoodle thing that you did.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
that's all weird, right?
How dare you do the thing that everyone should be doing?
Yeah. What were you thinking, sir? Yeah. It's nuts. It really is. I think about that kind of thing all the time. Well, Chris, we can leave it right there. I know you got to get back to work. I'm glad you were able to take a little time to chat with me today on the show. Folks, he's going back to work on purevitaminclub.com. That's where he's going. Purevitaminclub.com. He's going to be, we're redoing the labels for something, right, Chris? We had to re-up the labels and do some stuff, and you don't have to.
The FDA made some changes to stuff, so we have to use very specific verbiage now.
Yeah. So, we had to go make new labels, and Chris is working on that, and we're still making changes to it. Whenever Chris and I aren't trying to do that, we're working on the videos that will be out shortly. So that's coming. Put your name in at VinnieTortorich.com. If you want to be in the VIP group, it's VinnieTortorich.com/VIP. That's Pure Vitamin Club. And when you go there, Pure Coffee Club is on the same site. Everyone seems to be loving that. They're getting their coffee and their vitamins at the same time. Pretty soon, we're going to be selling nicotine over there, pure nicotine. No, folks, wait, hang on, Chris, write that down. No, we're not going to sell nicotine.
Purebacky.com.
Yeah, Pure Backy. Yeah, the best tobacco in the world. We get it right out of North Carolina. Is that where they grow tobacco, like North or South Carolina or somewhere like that?
Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina were the.
That's right. I live in one of the states. Yeah. All right, folks, don't use tobacco products. That's your message for today. On behalf of Chris Shaffer, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with just a little bit more.